Good morning. My name is Shumaila, and I welcome you to Sunday Morning Dose. Here at Sunday Morning Dose, we look at God's Word from Christ's perspective. If it doesn't make sense to Christ, it shouldn't make sense to us as Christ believers, as disciples of Christ. So today, let's continue on the series we started about 2 weeks ago on national development through inclusivity. Through the word inclusivity. So what does it mean? What does the word inclusivity, what does it mean? It's a noun, obviously, and it means the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those having physical or mental disabilities or belonging to other minority groups. So is that process where we begin to make sure that everyone have equal access to the provision of the welfare or the packages that exist within a state. And we have been talking about national development. We talked about a week ago, we talked about how inclusivity would help us have a functioning system, a functioning unit of system working together to bridge the gap between the marginalized and the rest, so that everyone could have equal access to the opportunities available in a state. So today, we will be looking at the fact that unity empowers national transformation. If a nation wants to transform, even as an individual, there is no transformation that could happen in a state of chaos. There is no transformation that could happen in a state of chaos. As an individual, if we must experience progress, then we must be able to have tackled all our chaotic situations within us. Some person wondered why many people begin to do well financially once they have a stable relationship, maybe a girlfriend or a marriage, especially marriage. It's because some internal chaotic situations cease to exist if you actually get it right. Two heads, like you might have heard, is better than one. Two good heads someone added, that is better than one. So the more chaotic a situation is, the harder it becomes for the person to thrive in such environment. And if the person wants to thrive in that environment, they reduce chaotic situations. The same way with governance, with national development. We cannot thrive in a war zone. We can't thrive in a place where people are disjointed, where we are not united. So first thing first, unity. Unity brings peace. Then peace will bring about progress. Peace will bring about progress. So how do we go about unity if not through inclusivity? The process of making sure that everyone have equal access to opportunities and resources in the space where they reside. So we must bring inclusivity. Let me give you an instance. Jesus was sharing a parable. It was actually a different parable, but we'll bring in a lesson from it. It was actually a different parable about a friend who would be in need of food, and then would go to his neighbor, and then the neighbor would at first would not react to the need of the friend. So let's just take it. It can be, you can find that story in Luke 11 from verse 5 to 11, but we'll just take it in part because that is actually not what the major lesson of that story is. But the fact that the friend would had to meet the needs of the neighbor if he must be in peace, if he must still have his peace to sleep. So in verse 7, your friend inside the house answers, don't bother me. So he asks, he said, don't bother me. The door is already locked. My children and I are in bed. I cannot get up and give you the bread now. So in verse 8, I tell you, maybe friendship is not enough to make him get up to give you bread, but he will surely get up to give you what you need if you continue to ask. Why would you get up? Stop disturbing me. I'm already asleep. My family are already asleep. Just paint it in a normal picture of this young family having maybe a toddler in the house that they've cuddled, they've sang bedtime or read bedtime stories to for them to sleep. Maybe it took them about 45 minutes for them to get the baby asleep. And then someone is banging at the door. And the bang is going to wake up this toddler. No, I'm going to give him whatever he needs. I won't care about whatever it is that, whatever inconvenience is putting me through. Whether I do not even have it or I do not want to give it or not, I'm going to give it because I need my peace, I need my rest, I need my unity. So inclusivity brings about unity. That's just to tell us that we cannot thrive in an environment that is hostile, in an hostile environment. We cannot thrive in an environment that is not engaging all, that is disfranchising some from the benefit of the land. We cannot thrive in an environment that is not ready to accommodate all. We cannot thrive in an environment that is not united. We cannot. So in Genesis chapter 11 verse 8 to 9, this is God himself putting a principle into place. A principle of the fact that once there is chaos, there is no progress. Some guys gathered around and then said they wanted to build a tower that would get them to reach God. You know, how interesting it would have been that if you want to get to God, sorry about that, if you want to get to God, all you just need to do is to just go straight directly to him, to wherever he is, and then get to meet him. So these guys, this group of guys, wanted to get to God, and then they said, oh, we know what? We're not just waiting here to waste our time to see when we'll get to heaven. No, we are going to build a tower that will reach God in heaven, that will get to God in heaven. So in verse 8, God knew that what they had proposed to do, they're going to achieve it. Nothing's going to stop them. So God needed to stop them because God obviously does not want that plan to come to fruition. So in Genesis chapter 11 verse 8, so the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is where the Lord confused the language of the whole world. So the place is called Babel. So the Lord caused them to spread out from there over all the whole world. So what did God did? He made sure that they were not speaking the same language anymore. They started speaking multiple languages. And multiple languages would not encourage inclusivity because everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be understood, and no one wants to understand the next person. No one wants to accommodate the thought pattern and the thought process of the other person. And that brings disunity, and that eventually would frustrate the transformation they could have achieved. Because God said they would have achieved that if he had not if he had not done what he did in verse 8 to 9. So what is the lesson here? The lesson here is that a nation that is trying to build, that is trying to transform, cannot be at war rather, cannot afford to be at war. A nation that is trying to build cannot afford to be at war. Cannot afford to be at war. A nation that is trying to build must, to a large extent, promote peace and unity. And as an individual, this applies to our lives too. Once you are trying to build, you cannot afford to be at war. I was listening to Kevin Hart during this past week, and then he was making a comment about the fact that he doesn't keep any grudges because it's too expensive, that he has a lot to do, and keeping grudges would mean that he would have to abandon those things that he needed to do to keep them. And it's a hard work, and he doesn't want such to happen to him, for him to abandon the necessary things in his life just to keep up grudges. No, he said it's not enough. That is not enough for that. So we can't afford to keep up grudges. We can't afford to be at war when we are trying to build. We can't afford not to internally generate some level of unity and peace within us when we are trying to build. And what helps us build, what helps us keep that unity? The process of inclusivity. Inclusivity helps us to build. Inclusivity helps us to build. So in Mark chapter 9, verse 38, in Mark chapter 9, verse 38, and John answered him, saying, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and he followed not us. Meaning, it was not part of your disciples that we could see around us. And we forbade him because he followed not us. In verse 39, Jesus responded, and Jesus said, forbid him not, for there is no one which shall do a miracle in my name that can lightly speak evil of me. For he that is not against us is on our part. This is what Jesus would mean. John was meant well. He said, no, this guy is not following us. He's not in our circle. It's not in our sphere. How come he's doing things in your name? We should stop him. Jesus said, no, don't stop him. If he's doing it in our name, if he's furthering the progress of this unit, then don't stop him. Because whether he's a known person to us or not, once he's for us, then that means there is a progress for the message. Let's leave the idea of pride out of it, whether it's calling us, whether it's referring to us or not. Once he's doing things that we would do, then that is good enough. Once he's doing things that we would do, that is good enough. Once he's for us, that's good enough. Meaning Christ would keep to some extent some level of unity amongst the people who are doing the things that he would do. Meaning there is no room for disunity and dysfunctioning as part in Christ. And that is what we should be about. National development should be our quest right now as a nation in Nigeria. And whoever is speaking that language, whatever region they are from, should not even matter to us. Whatever religion they are practicing should not even matter to us. Whoever is speaking the language that we need to create a system that would accommodate all in this land is speaking the right language. And that is what we should be about. It shouldn't be about which tribe is it from, which religion does it practice, where is it from, and the rest. That is of lesser concern to a developing nation. If we are serious about development, it's a lesser concern. We should be about what the person is about. If he's about national development, then I support him. If it's about national development, then I support R. And that should be our focus. That in itself should be our focus going forward. So let's take a look at inclusivity, how it helps to build peace. How inclusivity helps to build peace. Acts chapter 4, verse 32 to 35. Acts 4, 32 to 35. All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possession was their own, but they shared everything they had. Maybe we should stop here. Can continue the rest at all at your leisure time. Let's stop at 32. I read that again. All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. So, inclusivity, the process of thinking that how do we get people who are not opportune to have access to these opportunities begins to get access to it, helps bridge one in heart, helps bring about one in heart, unity, peace. Unity, peace. And once there is peace on the land, once there is unity in a land, that land would experience progress. When there is internal peace within a man, that man will experience progress. Once a man is at peace with himself, that man begins to experience progress. Once the land is at peace within itself, that land begins to experience progress. And that should be our focus. How do we get into the point as a nation where we begin to experience peace and unity? Inclusivity. We must begin to see our resources not just as own, but for others. Just like what I'm doing right now. I'm sharing my lifetime learning process with you for free. And that is how we should go about life, with you for free. Some of these thoughts and this knowledge cost some few naira. To me, it didn't just come at free. Some of them cost me time, some of them cost me my years on the earth to get them, but I'm sharing them with you for free. So I'm not saying I own this. No, for a nation to experience unity, there must be sharing, there must be inclusivity, there must be helping people who do not have opportunity to what you have to get the opportunity. There must be that process in place. If not, there won't be unity. Let me tell you why there won't be unity. If these people were smart, actually. If they had failed to do what they did in Acts chapter 4, if they had failed, let me tell you what will happen. Crime rate would increase amongst them. Crime rate will increase. Ritualist would increase amongst them. Sacrifices, all manners of sacrifices, yahoos would have increased amongst them. So what will have happened in an environment where there is no financial welfare for the people who do not have? It's crime. People who do not have will now resort to the fact that they need to have. And what will they resort to? Things that will be negative. So in order for us to create, and those negative things will bring about disunity, will bring about war in the land. So we have some people who are doing Boko Haram, who are kidnapping just to make money. Of course, I'm not saying they are not at blame. But I'm saying, going forward, we want to build a nation, then we must include, we must spend our own money to send people who cannot afford to send their children to school and send them to school. When we are doing that, we are not stupid. We are helping our own or next generation to solve problems they will be thinking about, to solve problem ahead. So this is our standpoint, that inclusivity would help us bring about unity and peace. And it is in peace and unity that a nation can experience progress. Let me give you a practical instance. Nigeria has the capacity to be the food hub for the world. We have the lands, we have the agricultural lands to produce nation, not just for Nigerians, not just for Africans, but for the world, to supply the world. Many people want to or have invested in even in farming. But one of the major issues about farming in this land is because there is no peace. There is no security as a result of no peace. You could either be running away from someone being kidnapping you, or from a terrorist called Boko Haram. So what should we do? Why have we not experienced progress in terms of food production? Because there is no peace. So how do we experience progress in food production? Let us begin to create peace. So you might not do anything about the already existing Boko Haram, but you could do something about the next Boko Haram in 20 years' time. You could do something about the next Boko Haram in 50 years' time. We could do something about the next Boko Haram in 10 years' time, the next kidnappers in 10 years' time. You could now go into schools, feed them for free, give them books, give them school uniforms for free, encourage learning, even pay them for learning. Yes, if you have to. And I'm not talking about government. If the government is responsible, yes, we could do that. But I'm talking as an individuals. These were individuals in Acts chapter 4, verse 32. They were not waiting for the government. They were willing to make sure that everyone had equal access to the opportunities in the land. And that is my point. My point is that we must begin to do something about our land. We must begin to do something about our transformation as a nation. And one of the places we should start from is inclusivity. And inclusivity, the mindset of inclusivity, of sharing with those that do not have, is that it helps us create peace and unity.